everyone, and welcome to another exciting interview by Financial Insight. My name is Mwelwa Kenneth and I'm currently at Ciela Resort by the golf course, where I'm about to have a very interesting conversation with Mr. Kambeu Banda, who is the CEO at REIZ. REIZ is essentially a property management company, and this morning they commenced what they're calling a roadshow on their Real Estate Investment Trust. And Kambeu is going to just share with me some of the thoughts there. But Kambeu, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. It's good to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you, Kambeu. I know this is your first time. Are you able to just give us a bit of a brief background of who you are and what your role is at REIZ?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Kambeu Banda. I've been with REIZ for about 2 years now. I joined REIZ in 2023. Before that, I was in the banking sector. I did my first stint straight from university with Stanbic Bank. Worked there for about almost 4 years or so. Then when FNB was coming into Zambia, I went and joined there, and basically was one of the few people that started corporate and commercial banking at FNB. I did a stint there for about almost 10 years. I left. I tried to do my own personal stuff in terms of consultants and the likes, until an opportunity presented itself for me to join Mr. Kasili in his Yamene consultancy, where I was there as a business consultant. I did a bit of work there, and then an opportunity presented itself for me to be chosen CEO for Real Estate Investments Zambia, and that's how I joined the team. Yeah, so my day-to-day in terms of running Real Estate Investments Zambia as CEO is obviously engagement a lot with staff, obviously, our team. We've got a management company, obviously, called Napoli that manages our property, so that takes out a lot of operating aspect of the job. However, my job is mostly around stakeholders. I do a lot of interactions with our stakeholders, being LUSE and SEC, Lusaka Securities Exchange, and the Securities Exchange Commission. So yeah, so I do a lot of that. And obviously business growth as well, acquisitions in terms of assets, disposals of assets as well, and just interacting with customers at that level.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of stakeholders, this morning we witnessed something very interesting. It was my first roadshow, I must admit, around the presentation of the REIT. For our viewers, are you able to basically explain to us what exactly is the REIT, and, you know, what exactly led, you know, REIZ to actually get to this particular point, and, you know, what are we hoping to achieve with this REIT?
Yeah, I think even from the presentations, as you heard, REIZ is a company that's been in existence for quite a long time. I think, like I said, started its operations in 1920 and transformed over the period to where it is today. An opportunity presented itself from a regulatory point of view to try and see how we can get into a REIT. So a REIT, in a nutshell, comes from a regulatory framework which speaks to a CSI. A CSI is basically a collective investment scheme. Okay, so collective investment scheme is such that you bring a collective of investors that are looking to invest in various things. You bring them together, and then they specifically invest into those aspects, and they share on the proceeds of the investments. Specifically for a REIT is a collective investment scheme investing only in property, and that's why it's called the Real Estate Investment Trust. The only difference in that structure is the fact that these investors are brought together, and you get their money and you go and invest it into real estate. And it has to be rental income assets that you invest in. So that's what REIZ basically is. So in 2024, somewhere around May or so, we did the application and we got the REIT status, what they call it, REIT status. REITs have been in existence elsewhere for quite a long time. South Africa has the biggest REIT market in Africa. Kenya has got quite a good, significant REIT market as well. We've seen REITs coming up in Ghana, there's REITs in Nigeria. I think there's talks of REITs in Tanzania as well and the like. So they're all over Africa, so to say. They're more efficient in terms of the management of the company because they're a bit stringent in terms of the rules. There's a lot of corporate governance that you have to meet in terms of how you manage it. There's the benefits that the REIT comes with are obviously tied to the rules as well. One of the rules is that obviously you have to distribute 80% of every income that you make after your expenses. So that makes it a very cash liquid type of asset. In regards, it's listed on the Lusaka Stock Exchange quite all right, but what that means is that on an annual basis, you are expected by law to declare a dividend. And we've done that already for year end 2024. We did declare a dividend of about $2.2 million, which we paid out to our shareholders. And yeah, so for that, it means it's one of those instruments that is available on the Lusaka Stock Exchange where you can actually invest in and expect to be paid a cash flow at the end of the day. So that's why we got to there. So because of that, it was quite attractive because it also gives you what we call tax efficiencies. So as a REIT, you're not expected to pay any income tax on your rentals. And because of that, it means it gives back a lot of the funds into the hands of the shareholders. And at the shareholder level, that's where you are obviously charged the tax on your dividend. But the good thing again with that is that being a Zambian, if you do invest in a listed company, you're actually exempted from dividend tax. So meaning there's a lot more money in your pockets. So because of that, we thought, I think it was a very good idea for us to go that way. And that's how we started with the REIT journey and where we are. Today's roadshow, in a nutshell, was basically us talking to investors to basically give them where we are as REIZ, where we've from a history point of view. We had to take a bit of time to talk to how we've performed from a financial point of view, because that's very important. And then to also show them the journey that we're taking. REITs by nature are supposed to grow in number because the benefit is in economies of scale. So you have to acquire as many assets as possible, and in your acquisition you create value, and that value is basically what you're giving back to the shareholders. So in doing that, we thought it was right for us to call out a few investors from the market. We've called out a lot of pensioners, banks, and insurance institutions to come and listen to our REIZ story, understand where we've come from, where we are today, and what we're trying to achieve. And more than anything, the biggest message is that we're trying to grow this REIT, trying to expand it as quickly as possible. Our target by 2027 is to get to about $500 million in portfolio size. And then the biggest dream that we have is obviously to get to $1 billion in terms of size. At that level now, you're competing with REITs in South Africa that are operating at that level. I mean, to just give you a snapshot, a shopping center like Sandton, for example, plus minus is about 150,000 square meters in size, okay? REIZ, with about, call it 11 properties, it's got a GLA of about 95,000 square meters. So meaning all the 11 properties in REIZ are not even equivalent to one shopping center in South Africa.
Wow.
So because of that, it's exactly where we have this drive of growth. We've seen the potential. There's a lot of assets within Zambia that we feel are good enough to fit into the model and to be able for us to give the dividend that we feel we can give to our customers. At the end of the day, you as an investor is only interested in your return on investment. How much money are you paying me? And this is not just an investment that is not liquid, because on a yearly basis, at least you receive something from your investment. It's not like you just invest and wait until one day you sell your shares for you to get back your money. No, you are guaranteed to get at least a return. So the question then I pose to you, Mwelwa, is do I go and get my money and go and buy a plot and build a house and rent it out? Or do I buy a share in REIZ and sit back and relax and wait to get my dividend without taking care of the tenants, following up on a broken tap and all sorts of things? That's the opportunity that this particular roadshow is presenting, not only to our investors, but also to the public as well.
Absolutely. And what I found quite interesting about this morning's presentation was the openness of the presentation in terms of who can actually participate. Maybe if you're just able to clarify, is it just restricted to institutional investors, or even individuals like myself can actually participate in the REIT?
Yeah, so REIZ as a REIT is listed on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. So meaning any individual that is interested in buying a security on the Lusaka Stock Exchange can actually go and meet any broker that is listed and registered with the Lusaka Stock Exchange and buy that share. Shares on the Lusaka Stock Exchange are not very expensive. Some of them trade in kwacha. We're the only ones that trade in dollar right now. And our share price right now is about 0.09 cents. So meaning with just $1, you're able to buy quite a number of shares based on that. So any person that is interested in buying a security on the Lusaka Stock Exchange is actually welcome to buy one. Institutions, yes, because obviously we're talking about bigger buys in terms of the shares, and it gives institutions an opportunity to invest in an asset class that is well managed by professionals and has got a lot more benefits than them going into the property sector themselves on their own. Because if you understand, most of these institutional investors have a mandate to invest into real estate, because real estate is real investment. So they do have that mandate. But however, with this opportunity that we present to them, we're saying a well-managed REIT with a lot of tax efficiencies, with a lot of good corporate governance in terms of SEC and LUCE and Companies Act regulation, why not try us? So yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, after this roadshow, there are obviously some key next steps that you actually shared with us. What, for our viewers, what are the next steps post this presentation?
Yeah. So I think the main body of the roadshow, really, apart from just introducing what REIZ is all about, where it's come from and where it's going, the main one was actually us offering an opportunity for investors to participate in what we call preferential shares. Okay, so pref share is basically another way in which a company goes to the market or to the public to raise funding for whatever that it wants to do. Okay, because by pref share, when you participate in that pref share, we'll get that capital and we go and invest it in assets and various things that we like to do. For us, we're restricted obviously to assets, so we'll invest it into an asset. So the messaging, the main messaging that we had today is that we have given you an opportunity as investors to come and participate in pref shares. The pref shares that we're asking for are basically can run from 7 to 10 years in terms of tenure. We'll be able to pay you an annual interest rate on those pref shares. We are open to kwacha and dollar pref share at a price of, for example, about 12.5% in kwacha and 7.5% in dollar. And then that means that we'll be able to pay you that 7.5% annually as an interest payment to you who participates in that pref share. And then the other thing is that 3 years down the line, you are able to convert that pref share into ordinary shares. What that means then now is that you now move from just being a lender to the business to being a shareholder into the business. Because when you convert that from pref share to ordinary share, you become a shareholder in the business. Yeah, so that's basically what the meat of today's discussion was all about. In doing that, all we're saying is that people, every investor that is interested now, we will approach them and say, these are the deals that we have, a pipeline that we have of deals. We've signed NDAs with these people, so there's no way we can just disclose that information. So when we reach a point where we've agreed with these particular investors in terms of funding, and we've agreed with these particular sellers of these assets, we'll now go back to the investors and say, please, can we now get your commitment to participate in these pref shares? And once they participate, we raise those funds, we buy these assets, and then we're able to obviously pay them as promised on whatever we can. And obviously, when we buy these assets, our job is to make sure that we increase the yields in this property. Our target yield is about 8 to 10%. That's basically what we're trying to see and sell out there to the investors.
Absolutely. On a final note, if anybody wanted to get a bit more information about this, I mean, we will be obviously broadcasting a lot of different information bits about this morning's presentation. But how do they get in touch with you guys if they want to learn more? You have mentioned stockbrokers in terms of the purchasing, but how do they get more information?
Yeah.
About this?
So mostly when it comes to the purchase of shares, the only point of contact in terms of buying shares on any listed entity in the country is the brokers. So anybody that is interested in buying a share, either it be REIZ or any other company that is listed, has to get in touch with all the various brokers that we have. I think we've got more than 8 brokers or so that are authorized and listed with Lusaka Stock Exchange. So you go there specifically. However, when it comes to getting more information, we have a website that is live. It's a live website, which is www.reizreit.com. Where people can get a lot of information there. It's got a lot of tabs in which you can go to understand our vision, our strategy. There's what we call an investment case, where we showcase all the information that an investor would be interested to get there, to give you our dividend policy, for example. It'll give you information on how we've been paying, to give you information on our financials, for example. All our financials, I think for the past, call it more than 10, 15 years, are there for you to download and be able to understand the business. It will tell you about the team, our vision, and all those kind of things. So yes, our website is a good source of information. However, our offices are at East Park, just right next to the Napoli offices, opposite the former in Lusaka, opposite former Ochanyama, right at East Park. You can come to our offices anytime. As CEO, I can present my number. I'm reachable on 0974 77 2835. 0974 77 2835. And my email address is kambeu@reiz.co.za.
Right. No, Kambeu, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mwelwa. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you've heard it for yourself. So we're still on the sidelines and about to have some more conversations on, the REIT Roadshow presentation. I've been Mwelwa Kenneth Chibesakunda with Kambeu, the CEO of REIZ. So stay tuned for more insights.